Reading is one of the best ways to improve your English, but it can be difficult to find suitable reading material. Many books are difficult to understand. They contain advanced vocabulary and are so long you can feel overwhelmed and want to give up. If you recognize these problems, then this book is for you. There are many kinds of stories in the book, such as science fiction, fantasy, thriller, and crime. As you begin to read, you will forget that you are reading in a foreign language and enjoy discovering different worlds in English. There are many useful features in the book that help you read more effectively. For example, after each chapter, there is a summary of the plot and a set of comprehension questions, so you can check important details of the story. You will learn a lot of natural English and improve quickly. As an intermediate learner of English, you might be looking for an entertaining challenge. Or maybe you have been learning for a while and simply want to enjoy reading. Either way, this book is the biggest step forward you will take in your English this year. So, sit back and relax. It's time to let your imagination run wild and enter a magical English world of fun, mystery, and intrigue. A feeling of progress is important when reading in a foreign language. Without this, you have no motivation to keep reading. The stories in English short stories for intermediate learners have been designed to give you this feeling of progress. First, each story has been kept short and broken down into chapters. This gives you the satisfaction of being able to finish reading what you have started and come back the next day wanting more. It also reduces the feeling of, "There is so much I don't know in English." The English in the stories is rich and varied, but still understandable for intermediate learners. Each story is written in a different genre in order to keep you entertained. There are plenty of dialogues, giving you lots of useful spoken English words and phrases to learn. There is also a variety of tenses from one story to the next, so you can practice common verbs in past, present, and future forms. This will make you a more confident user of English, able to understand different situations without getting lost. English Short Stories for Intermediate Learners supports you with some special learning features. There are regular summaries of the plot to help you follow the story and make sure you have not missed anything important. You will find comprehension questions at the end of each chapter to test your understanding of what has happened in the story and encourage you to read in more detail. English Short Stories for Intermediate Learners has been created to give you the support you need so you can focus on reading, learning, and having fun. How to read effectively. Reading is an important skill, and in our mother tongue, we read in different ways. For example, we might skim a news article quickly in order to understand the main events. Or we might scan the pages of a bus timetable looking for a particular time or place. If I gave you a children's book to read, you would turn the pages quickly. On the other hand, if I gave you a contract to sign, you would read each word carefully. However, when it comes to reading in a foreign language, research tells us that we lose most of our reading skills. We stop using skills like skimming and scanning to help us understand difficult texts. Instead, we simply start at the beginning and read every word, one after the other. Inevitably, we quickly become frustrated by difficult words. As long as you are aware of this, however, you can use some simple strategies to avoid this trap and become a better reader. You are reading this book because you like the idea of learning English with short stories. But why? What are the benefits of learning English with stories instead of with a textbook? Understanding this will help you improve your reading. When you read books for fun, it is known as extensive reading. This is very different from how you might read English in a textbook. Your textbook contains short dialogues which you read in detail. The aim is to understand every word. This is known as intensive reading. Here is another way to look at it. Textbooks give you grammar rules and lists of vocabulary to learn. They try to teach you. Stories show you real English. They do not try to teach you. In fact, both kinds of reading are valuable, and you need them both in order to learn a language effectively. English short stories for intermediate learners, however, is designed to help you with extensive reading. As you read and enjoy the stories, you will gradually improve your understanding of how English works. If you often study with textbooks, this book will be a breath of fresh air. Now, in order to get the benefits of extensive reading, you have to make sure you are reading regularly. Reading 1 or 2 pages may teach you a few new words, but it will not make a big difference to the level of your English. With this in mind, here is what you should have in mind when you read the stories in this book, so you learn the most from them. 1. There are 2 things that are vital to successful reading: enjoyment and a sense of achievement. They are important because they make you want to come back the next day and read more. 2. The more you read, the more you learn. 3. The best way to enjoy reading stories and to feel a sense of achievement is by reading the story from beginning to end. 4th, consequently, understanding every word in a story is not the most important thing. The most important thing is reaching the end of the story. This brings us to the most important point of this section. You must accept that you will not understand everything you read in a story. It is completely normal that there are things you do not understand when you read. If you do not understand a word or a sentence, it does not mean you are stupid or not good enough. It simply means you are in the process of learning English, just like everybody else. So, what should you do when you find a difficult word? Here are a few ideas. 1. Look at the word and see if it is familiar in any way. Depending on your mother tongue, there might be a similar word in your language. Take a guess. You might surprise yourself. 2. Read the whole sentence many times. As you read that sentence repeatedly, think about everything that has happened in the story. Try to guess the meaning of the whole sentence, not just the difficult word. This takes practice, but is often easier than you think. 3. Make a note of the word in a notebook and check the meaning later. Sometimes you might find a verb that you do not recognize, or perhaps you do not understand why the verb is being used, and that may frustrate you. But, is it absolutely necessary for you to know this right now? Can you still understand the story? Usually, if you have managed to recognize the main verb, that is enough. Instead of getting frustrated, simply notice how the verb is being used, and then carry on reading. 5. If all the other steps fail, or you simply have to know the meaning of a particular word, you can look it up in a dictionary. However, try not to do this unless you have to. These steps are designed to do something very important, to train you to handle reading independently and without help. The more you can develop this skill, the better you will be at reading. And of course, the more you can read, the more you will learn. Remember that the purpose of reading is not to understand every word in the story. The purpose of reading is simply to enjoy the story. Therefore, if you do not understand a word and you cannot guess what the word means from the context, simply try to keep reading. Learning to be happy without understanding everything you read in English is a powerful skill to have because you become an independent and intelligent learner. The 6-step reading process. 1. Read the first chapter of the story all the way through. Your aim is simply to reach the end of the chapter. Do not stop to look up words in the dictionary, and do not worry if there are things you do not understand. Simply try to follow the story. 2. When you reach the end of the chapter, read the summary of the plot to see if you have understood what has happened. If you find this too difficult, do not worry. 3. Go back and read the same chapter again. If you like, you can read in more detail than before. Otherwise, simply read it one more time and enjoy. 4. At the end of the chapter, read the summary again and then try to answer the comprehension questions to check your understanding of what happened. If you do not get them all correct, do not worry. 5. By this point, you should start to understand the main events of the chapter. If you wish, continue to reread the chapter using the dictionary to check difficult words. You may need to do this a few times until you feel confident. This is normal, and each time you read, you will gradually understand more. 6. Otherwise, you should move on to the next chapter and enjoy the rest of the story at your own pace, just like any other book. Remember, at every stage of the process, there will be words and phrases you do not understand. Instead of worrying, try to focus instead on everything that you have understood. Congratulate yourself for taking the time to read in English. Most of the benefit you get from this book will come from reading each story from beginning to end. Only once you have reached the end of the story should you go back, study the language from the story in more depth. Chapter 1. Why can't we come in? I asked the large man standing in front of us. He was wearing a dark suit, and he was tall and strong. He was blocking the door to Zara's nightclub. We could hear the loud dance music behind the door. We wanted to go in. I had lost my job the other day. I needed to have a night of fun. I didn't want to have a lot of stress, so we had to find a way to get inside. The tall man was a bouncer. His job was to let the right people in and to keep everyone else out. He pointed to his clipboard and frowned. Your name isn't on this list. I looked up at him. He was at least 6 inches taller than me. How do we get on that list? My friends, Nate and Aaron and I, had dressed up. We had driven across town to come to Zara's. The new club was famous and we wanted to check it out. But the bouncer did not reply. Instead, he looked over my skinny shoulder. There was a long line of people behind me. How do I get in? I asked again, and I snapped my fingers. I was trying to get his attention. You don't, he said. He waved the next guest in the line to come forward. She was a beautiful blonde girl. When I saw her, I had an idea. Wait, I protested. Our girlfriends are already inside. It was a lie. Aaron looked at me in a strange way. Perhaps he thought, is Jack crazy? Jack, what are you doing? Aaron yelled in my ear. He was a good-looking guy, but he was also shy. He never took any risks. Be quiet, I whispered back. I didn't want the bouncer to hear. But he did hear us. He rolled his eyes and tried to ignore me again. No, really, I persisted. Our girlfriends are inside waiting for us. He lifted a red velvet rope to let the blonde girl pass. Thanks, Bruce, she said as she walked by him. I could smell her perfume. I wanted to follow her in, but Bruce, the bouncer, shook his head at me. Are your friends really inside? Yes, I answered. Our girlfriends. His expression was doubtful. He rubbed his bald head, then he lifted his clipboard again. Okay, what are their names? Their names? Well, I didn't know their names because they didn't exist. You're done, he said. He smiled and he pushed me aside. Next. We could not get in, so we left Zara's. We went across the street for coffee. That was dumb, Jack, Aaron said, and he took off his jacket. He had put on his favorite clothes to come out. With his good looks and clothes, he could be an actor, but his attitude was always negative. I felt bad, because it had been my idea to go out. Everyone knew it was impossible to get inside Zara's without a reservation, and reservations were impossible to get. But I had wanted to try. Nate ordered his coffee black, along with 2 chocolate-glazed donuts. Nate was very different from Aaron. He was more adventurous and happy. Nate loved to eat sweets like cakes and candies, so he was a bit overweight. I'll have the same, Aaron told the waiter. But unglazed donuts, please. And what would you like, sir? The waiter asked me. I would like to know how to get into that nightclub, I told him. You can't get in there, not without a reservation or a date, he said. Unless you are a female, of course. It is easy for the girls to go in. They want more girls inside. Why? Aaron asked. Because the guys will go there and spend money. I nodded. That's unfair. The waiter shrugged his shoulders. Maybe, but that's life. If you want to go to Zara's, you will have to find someone to go with you. You want to order anything? Just coffee with milk, no donuts. I looked at my friends. Who eats donuts at 9 o'clock at night? Nate and Aaron exchanged looks. We do, they said together. I sighed and crossed my arms. It looked like I was going to be spending the evening with these two. After our coffees and donuts were finished, we paid our check. I noticed 3 girls sitting at a table. They were talking. They were also finished with their food and drinks. Guys, look, I said to my friends. What if... No, Aaron said, cutting off my sentence. Jack, let's just go. Wait, what, Jack? Nate asked. Do you want to talk to them? I combed my black hair back with my fingers. We can try. Why not? Come on, I just lost my job. Do me a favor. What is the worst thing that can happen? Aaron stared at me, but Nate punched him in the arm. Come on, Aaron, he said. Jack is right. We can ask them. Perhaps they will want to go with us to Zara's. If we get inside, they can stay with us. Or they can leave us if they want to. The girls were watching us. One of them, a girl with red hair, leaned over the table. She whispered something to her friends and they nodded. None of them were smiling. I felt a lump in my throat, but decided to go forward. I walked over to their table. My friend stayed behind me. Hi, my name is Jack Cruz. No relationship to Tom Cruise, I said, making a bad joke. Clearly, the redhead said. Her friends laughed, but I laughed with them, a little. Would you like to go to Zara's with us? The bouncer would not let us in, I said. But maybe we could get in with dates. The smallest of the 3 girls said, Dates? We don't even know you. I know, I said. But let's just try. Don't you want to see inside Zara's? The girls looked through the window at the long line in front of the nightclub. Then they looked at each other. We don't need you to get inside, said the redhead. But I guess we can help you boys out. By the way, my name is Caprice. Summary Jack Cruz has lost his job. He and his friends, Nate and Aaron, go out to a nightclub named Zara's, but they cannot get in. They do not have reservations. They go across the street to have coffee and donuts in a cafe. They see a group of girls in the cafe. They ask the girls if they would like to go to the club together. The girls agree. Multiple choice questions. Select one answer for each question. 1. What is the bouncer's job at Zara's? A. He serves drinks. B. He parks cars. C. He decides who gets inside. D. He runs the cash register too. What gives Jack an idea about how to get inside? A. Seeing a blonde girl go inside. B. Seeing a blonde man go inside. C. Seeing a couple go inside. D. Having coffee and donuts. 3. Why does Jack think Nate is a little overweight? A. Nate doesn't exercise. B. Nate likes sweet foods like glazed donuts. C. Nate is shy. D. None of the above 4. Jack makes a joke about not being related to an actor, but he thinks the joke is A. A little funny. B. Very funny. C. Not very funny at all. D. Too serious. 5. The girls, A. Are excited to date the boys. B. Are angry for being bothered. C. Say they will help. D. Will not help. Chapter 2. Let me talk to the bouncer, I said as the 6 of us left the cafe. No, Caprice said. Let me. You couldn't talk your way in before. I began to protest, but Nate nudged me in the ribs. She's right. Give her a chance. We started walking toward the back of the line. Caprice grabbed my hand suddenly. We ran toward the bouncer. The others followed us. They did not understand her plan. "Excuse me, Bruce," she shouted, waving her hand in the air. She stopped only inches away from the intimidating bouncer. "You're Bruce, aren't you?" "Do I know you?" "You were supposed to let my boyfriend in earlier," she said, pointing at me. "What happened?" "His name wasn't on the list." "The list? Do you mean the fake list?" she asked, grabbing at his precious clipboard. He pulled it away from her and held it up, but she was persistent. "Get real. It's a bunch of fake names on a piece of paper." "How do you know?" Bald Bruce asked, as he bent down to get closer to her. Perhaps he did not want the rest of the line to hear. "And so what if it is fake? Do you know a woman named Zara Bernhardt?" Bruce stiffened. "The owner?" "Yeah, the owner." Caprice reached into her handbag. She took out a photograph and her driver's license. She showed both to the bouncer, and his face turned pale. "I'm Caprice Bernhardt. Zara's my mom." "That was awesome," I said, brushing my black hair out of my eyes. "I had no idea who you were." "Were?" Caprice said, leading me to the bar. "I still am. What are you having?" Several customers were trying to get the helpless bartender's attention, but when he saw Caprice, he walked over to her. "Nice to see you," he shouted over the music. "Can I get you something?" "A Coke," she said. "And—" she looked at me. "Me too." "What?" the bartender asked. "Sorry, I couldn't hear you, man." "I'll have a Coke too," I yelled. Caprice seemed surprised by my order. "Don't you drink alcohol?" "I'm underage," I said, smiling. "I hope not," she said, "or we're both in trouble." The bartender brought over our sodas. We took them to a table in a vacant corner. "Your friends disappeared." "I see one of them on the dance floor," I said, pointing to Nate. He was dancing with the smallest of the girls. "They seem to get along. Look, they are smiling." "What about the other one?" "Aaron. He's gone." I could not see Aaron anywhere. I took my phone out of my pocket because I wanted to check my messages. Perhaps he had sent me a text message. Yes, he had texted me. "Looks like he decided to go home." "Hey, guys," said the third girl as she walked over to our table. "What's up?" "Where were you?" Caprice asked. "Did you scare Aaron away?" "I guess so," she said. Then she looked at me. "By the way, what's your name again?" "Jack," I said. "And I'm sorry. You are—" "I'm Susan. The other girl's Aisha. Anyways, your friend was weird." "He's not weird, he's shy," I said. As the Smith song goes, shyness is nice and shyness can stop you from doing all the things in life you'd like to, Susan finished. I love that song. Really? They are one of my favorite bands. Hey, you scared away your boyfriend, Caprice said to her friend. Leave my date alone. Susan smirked. She was unhappy. Fine, I'm going to the bar, she said, and I'm putting my drinks on your tab. You will have to pay for them later." She walked away. She went to stand in the crowd in front of the busy bar. I was happy to hear myself called a date. "Thanks again for helping us," I said. "It was a hard week for me. It was difficult because I lost my job this week." "Oh, that's terrible. What was your job?" She looked uncomfortable. Why did I tell her I'd lost my job? I thought. "Actually," I said, pointing at the bar, "I did that. I was a bartender." She bit her lip. She was thinking of something. "So," she said at last, "is Zara's everything you dreamed of?" I looked around the club. It had an expensive disco lighting system. It also had very loud audio speakers on the walls. A professional DJ was playing the best music, and the dance floor was packed. But there were also plenty of seats for people to sit and talk. "I love it," I said. "I would love to come here every week." "Is that a hint?" "Yes," I said. "I mean, if you want to act like you are my date again, I would love to call you, if you give me your phone number." Caprice grinned and put out her hand. I reached out to take it, but she stopped me. "No, give me your phone." "Oh." I handed over my phone. She took it and added herself to my contacts list. "So now you have it. Don't post it on the internet. It's private." Immediately, I dialed her number. I watched her phone light up. "Now you have my number too," I said. "You can put mine on the internet. I don't mind. Nobody ever tries to call me." "Your mother doesn't own a nightclub," she said. "Does she?" "I don't think so," I said, laughing. "Listen, I really want you to know I did not know who you were when I talked to you in the cafe." "I believe you," she said. "I know you weren't just trying to use me." "Well, I was trying to use you," I admitted, "but I was very honest about it." This time she laughed and looked away. Maybe I need to shut up, I thought. "I need to get going soon," she said. "I told my roommate I would be home before 11. "You should live for yourself, not for others," I said. "I read that on a card or something." Caprice gave me a wide grin. "I agree 100%, but my roommate lost her keys to the apartment. Do you think she should wait outside while I stay here with you?" I made an innocent face. "I don't mind if she waits." "Typical male," she said, standing up. "You have my number." "You have mine," I said, getting up with her. I wanted to walk her to the exit. "Let's see who calls the other first. We could place a bet." For a moment, her face turned serious. "Never bet against me or my family, Jack. We have a history of never losing." Summary Jack and his friends are able to get into Zara's nightclub with the help of Caprice and her friends. Jack and Caprice order drinks at the bar. Jack learns a secret, that Caprice's family owns the club. Nate dances with Aisha, but Aaron leaves. Caprice gives Jack her phone number and prepares to leave too. Multiple choice questions. Select one answer for each question 6. Caprice is able to convince the bouncer to let them inside by A. Giving him money, B. Punching his arm, C. Showing him proof that her family owns the club, D. Line 7. Jack goes to the bar with Caprice. He, A, does not order a drink. B, orders the same drink as her. C, orders a beer. D, orders a Coke and nachos 8. Aaron sends Jack a message on his phone. Aaron. A, left with the girl he met. B, is on the dance floor with the girl he met. C, left by himself. D, wants to come sit with Jack and Caprice. 9. Caprice gives Jack her phone number by A, writing it on a napkin. B, whispering in his ear. C, calling him. D, putting it into his phone herself. 10. Jack and Caprice almost make a bet, but they do not bet because A, Caprice is religious and does not bet. B, Jack cannot hear her. C, Aaron sends Jack a message not to bet. Her. D, Caprice knows Jack would lose the bet. Chapter 3. I waited 3 days before calling her. It was a long 3 days. It was hard to wait. You lose, Caprice said when she answered the phone. We didn't bet, remember? I was wondering, what are you doing tonight? She paused. She did not say anything for a moment. My parents are having a small party at home. Some business partners are coming to their house. They want to talk about the nightclub. They are curious how it is doing. Are you going to go? I asked. Yes, because they want my opinion. They want the opinion of a younger person. Maybe you should come over too. I laughed about that. No, you want me to meet your parents? And you want me to talk about my opinion of their club? Caprice didn't laugh with me. Yes, I want you to come. Why not? I think you are a very honest person. But you do not know me. Women have intuition about people, Jack. Can you meet me by 8? We met outside her apartment. We took her car to her parents' home. The home was a giant mansion. There were 2 stories and 20 rooms. I counted the windows. What are you doing? She asked me. She drove her car up the large driveway. I'm counting the windows. Why? I don't know. I am trying to see where the restroom is. That was a dumb thing to say, I decided. I'd never been to a rich person's house before. Now I was going to have dinner with rich strangers. The strangers were this girl's parents. I had good reasons to be nervous. Don't be nervous, she said. She was getting out of the car. Just be yourself. What does that mean? People always say that. Be yourself. Be yourself. Of course I will be myself. Okay, never mind, she said. She closed the car door hard. You are acting weird. Be somebody else. Sorry. This night is weird. I don't know what to say to your parents. She knocked on the door. A butler answered. A butler. Hi, Jeeves, she said. Your butler is not named Jeeves, I wanted to say. Very funny, young lady. Come inside. And welcome, Mr. Hi, I'm Jack Cruz, I said. I held out my hand. The butler shook my hand. He said his real name was Pete, not Jeeves. He took us to the large living room. There were a dozen people sitting on sofas. 2 of them stood up. They walked over to Caprice and me. Hi, darling, said a beautiful lady. She looked like Caprice, but she was older. Is this your new friend? Hi, I'm Zara. I'm Jack. I said, and I held out my hand again. She did not shake my hand. Instead, she gave me a big hug. A handsome man with gray hair was standing behind her. "My wife likes hugs," he said, "but I'll shake your hand." His handshake was like Superman's. "Call me Ismael." I remembered the joke about the butler's name. I thought he was making a joke too. "Ismael, you are funny. You cannot fool me again," I said. "No, it isn't a joke," Caprice said. "My dad's name is Ismael." Zara laughed out loud. "I like your friend, Caprice," she said. "Please sit down, Jack. Let's chat." We talked for a few minutes in the living room. Then we moved to the dining room. Dinner was a delicious chicken curry. After dinner, we started to talk about their nightclub business. "What was your impression of the place?" Zara asked. "My impression? Well, the first thing I saw was the bouncer. He was not rude, but I do not think his reservation list is real." "You think the reservation list is fake? Why do you think that?" Caprice and I smiled at each other. "I told him it wasn't real," Caprice said. "Many people want to come to the club," Zara said. She was moving her pearl necklace around her shirt collar. "We have to be careful. We cannot let everyone inside. There isn't enough room for everyone." "There is another reason," Caprice's father said. "Some people want to come, but not spend money. Other people come to spend money. It's a business. We want customers with money." "What do you think about the inside?" Zara asked. "Did you like it?" I remembered the poor bartender. He was trying to help too many customers. I had been a bartender too. I knew it was a hard job. "I like the inside, but you need an extra bartender," I said. "Your guy needed help. He had too many customers. There was a very big crowd. I felt sorry for him." "Do you know any bartenders? Do you know anyone who needs a job?" Caprice asked. Zara and Ismael waited for my answer. Yes, I do know a bartender that needs a job," I said, "and he works cheap." By the end of the week, I had a new job at Zara's nightclub. My girlfriend Caprice came to visit me often. I became friends with the other bartender, Dennis. I also became friends with Bruce, the bouncer. "I can't believe it. You are lucky, Jack," Aaron said one night. He was shaking his head. "Lucky?" I asked. Aaron was sitting alone. He sat beside Nate and Nate's new girlfriend, Aisha. "You're wrong, my friend. Luck was not the reason. Luck had nothing to do with it. It was persistence. In this life, persistence is the only way to get anything." "Luckily," Caprice said, holding my hand, "Jack has plenty of that." Summary, Jack calls Caprice. She invites Jack to meet her parents and give his opinion of the club. Jack is very impressed by their fancy home. He meets their butler, then Zara and Ismael, Caprice's parents. They have dinner. He tells them his opinions. Then he ends up getting a new job at Zara's as a bartender. Multiple choice. Questions. Select one answer for each question. 11. Caprice invites Jack to A. Her apartment, B. Zara's nightclub, C. her parents' home. D. A job interview. 12. Jack is nervous about A. Meeting Caprice's parents. B. Going on another date with Caprice. C. His bad breath. The fact that he does not have a job. 13. Caprice introduces her parents' butler as Jeeves. A. She was joking. B. The butler's name really is Jeeves. C. The butler's name is Bruce. D. None of the above. 14. When Zara meets Jack, she A. Shakes his hand. B. Introduces her husband. C. Laughs at him. D. Gives him a hug. 15. The first thing Jack says about the nightclub is A. He would change the name of it. B. He would hire another bartender. C. He doesn't like the reservation list. D. He wants a job there. How do you speak fluently in English? How do you speak confidently in English? How can you improve your English communication skills? This is by far one of the most requested videos on this channel, and today I have got 6 simple steps for you on how to learn English from stories. Now, I don't come from an English-speaking household. Everybody in my house actually speaks or communicates in Hindi. But when we were growing up, my mom paid a lot of attention to it. She made a lot of effort. She made us do so many different exercises, learn everything about grammar, sentence structure, all of that jazz to basically train us to speak well in English. Now, I understand that a lot of people do not have the privilege or the environment to grow up in a space like this, which is why the steps that I'm sharing with you today can be tailor-made to fit your situation, no matter what situation you're in, to learn English from stories at any age. So hit like, hit subscribe, and let's get started. Now, before we get on with the tips, have any of you guys ever wondered why we are not able to speak well in English, despite the fact that most of us have English as a subject in school, and most of our textbooks are also actually in English? Well, there are 2 potential reasons for this. One is that we are taught English the wrong way in schools. It's just a subject. We don't have enough incentive to want to make it a part of our lives, and that's because whatever we are taught in English is, well, pretty boring, and everything is done for the purpose of getting good grades. So that kind of sucks all the fun out of learning a new language. There's this research by Dr. Stephen Krashen, which suggests that you become fluent in a language when you interact with things that are so interesting in that language that you forget that they are not in your native language. But that doesn't really happen in school. And the second reason is that English is just not a part of our day-to-day lives, right? You are surrounded by people who speak in your native language. So if you grow up in North India, that's most likely Hindi. If you grow up in southern India, that's a bunch of different languages like Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam. Nobody is actually speaking in English. And so there's also not enough incentive for you to make yourself uncomfortable enough to speak a different language. Because of these 2 reasons, what ends up happening is that you become this person who always gets anxious when they actually need to communicate in English. Now, whether we like it or not, English is more or less a universal language. It is the language of professional communication. So I want you to overcome your fear. I want you to start getting confident while speaking in English and become fluent in this language. Our environment has a huge impact on how we speak and what language we speak. What we hear is how we think, and how we think is what we speak. There's another research by this German scientist, Dr. Kathleen Wermke, who found that babies as young as 2 days old understand the tone of their native language. She analyzed the sound of crying of 60 newborn babies and realized that it actually resembles the melody of their native language. This means our environment starts to shape us since we are born. So if you really want to change your old habit of not communicating in English, and if you want to learn the new skill of communicating in English, you have to start incorporating it into your environment, right? And the easiest way to do this is to change the medium that you consume content in. So, whatever you're watching, try watching it in English. The reason that I am so fluent in English and have gotten better over the years is because I primarily consume English content. All the shows that I watch, any YouTube videos that I watch, anything that I am watching in terms of the news, etc., everything is in English. I consume content primarily in English. The only time that I'm consuming Hindi content is when I go to watch a movie in the theater. And as a result of that, I am able to pick up all of these different cues. I'm able to improve my sentence structure on the go, and everything becomes better just with simple practice, simple exposure therapy. I just expose myself to the English language on a continuous basis, and that's exactly what you need to do. Even if you don't understand it completely, even if you understand parts of it, it actually starts by exposing yourself to more and more content in English. For example, if you like personal growth content, watch YouTubers who create that content in English. If you're trying to build a fitness routine, watch creators who are giving you advice on fitness in English. Whatever you enjoy, consume that content in English, and then you'll automatically start to enjoy consuming English as well. Now, doing this actually helps you in more ways than one. 1. You get used to listening in English, and over time, it will feel very natural, and you don't have to translate it into your native language. 2. It helps you learn the correct pronunciation of complex words. And 3. You learn the informal terms or slang that people use in everyday English. You have to understand that how you write in a language is very different from how you speak in a language, right? When you write in Hindi, you are writing Shuddh, pure Hindi. But when you communicate or speak in Hindi, it's a very colloquial, slang-based version of Hindi. It's not Shuddh Hindi, right? That's the same thing with English. And consuming content actually helps you understand what conversational English sounds like. And 4, you actually gain interest-specific vocabulary over time. Your vocabulary and your knowledge of the different words used in the space increase. For example, if you are somebody who loves skincare content, following a beauty creator who actually creates skincare content in English not only helps you know the latest trends in the skincare industry, but it also helps you learn the words and the phrases that you can use in your daily conversations. Another thing I also recommend doing when it comes to consuming content is reading more books in English. This can easily help you add 300 to 400 new words to your vocabulary every time you finish reading a book. Reading books also helps you improve your sentence structure and your grammar, and that's a double win.